So once you've typed that into the URL, edu@appfurnace.com, you get the log on screen. And you can see down the right-hand side here, the buy license key, which obviously you've already got, and the activate license key. And by clicking on the activate license key, you're able to enter your license key and activate the account. And that's fairly straightforward. You just follow the on-screen prompts. Once you've done that, you will be able to log in, and the log on screen is exactly the same one. So in the email address here, you type in your email and the password that you've selected and log in. So we'll just do that. And the next screen you see will be the dashboard. The dashboard allows the manager, as this is the manager dashboard, to do a number of things. Users get a slightly different dashboard in that they don't get these two options, the All Apps and the Manage Users app. The manager is able to create users, and those can be created as either individuals, or you can import a CSV file of the users. So to begin with, if we just click on this Create App button, sorry, my mistake. So click on the Manage Users option. You can see I've already got users in my account here, and the two buttons at the top, Bulk Add via CSV and an Individual Add. If we click on the Individual Add, you can see I can just add an individual student in here, so I can type in their name, an email address, their password, which once it's typed in, you won't see again. So if they lose it, you would need to come back in and type a new password in, and a group, and that can be a class or a year group or whatever. And then at the bottom here, there are different roles that you can assign to people. So a pupil just has access to their account. There are other roles that you can put in: an examiner, a moderator, and a teacher. So the examiner one allows external examiners to come into the AppFurnace account and look at examination work that students might submit. A moderator gives control over all of the users so that they're able to moderate the apps that the children are producing. And similarly, a teacher has the ability to be able to moderate and edit applications as well. So I'll just cancel that one and just go up to this other one here. Obviously, if you've got a lot of students to add in one go, to add them individually is going to be time consuming, and therefore there is a bulk add via CSV file. And it tells you that you need to choose a file, so a pre-prepared CSV file. I'll just close this window for a second. I'll just pull up this one. This information is all on our website as well. This just gives an overview of what I was talking about a moment ago. So these are the different roles that each of those users have. So if you look down the left-hand column, you've got the admin, the teacher, the moderator, the examiner, and the pupil, and you can see what access management they have actually got. Going back to the CSV file, just load this CSV file up. So we can see with the CSV file here, this one has been set up as a demo file, and the columns are the name of the pupil, their password, the group they belong to, and an email address. Now, the email address doesn't have to be an active email address for the students. So it doesn't have to be a personal one. It's just a logon identity. And that logon identity can be any email that they want. And then in the final column, we've got the role. So you can create the CSV file in a spreadsheet and make that available for import into AppFurnace. So if we just go back to AppFurnace, so this option here allows me to choose the file. It'll open a file window. I can go off and find the file, tell it to upload, and that will be imported straight into this management screen. The titles on each of these columns are sort. So if we click on them, it'll sort in this case, alphabetical order. We can sort on the groups. We can sort on email addresses, so that you can either group things together, or if you want to search for individual users, you can obviously type into this search box at the top to find an individual user. Just quickly with these other ones at the top, this All Apps option allows me to see all of the apps that have been created in this particular account. So this is the apps for everybody. So if there's one I wanted to specifically search for, again, I can type it into this field at the top and it will pull that app for me. Or if it's a group I want to start search for, I can type the group name in and I've got all of those then together to look at. You'll notice in this list, however, there's also this option at the end. Now, my account is set to always moderate. All school accounts are set so that the apps have to be moderated. And if you weren't already aware of it, AppFurnace has a moderation facility that allows a manager, a teacher, or a moderator to be able to moderate a pupil's app before it can actually be published. So this is very important, as it allows the teachers and the lecturers to actually look at the students' apps and make sure that they are appropriate, that they don't contain any inappropriate materials before they actually go live. So this column down here tells me all these apps have been moderated, and there would be a different flag in here if it hadn't been moderated, and you would have the option to click it, look at the app and moderate it. And these two last ones here are simply all the apps that are in my personal account, and this takes me straight back to the dashboard. So let's go back to the dashboard. So the dashboard here, this panel in the center, is about me as the user of this account. So a student will see a very, very similar interface when they log on. You've got the option to create the apps or also look at the apps, and this button here allows you to see all of the apps within my personal account. So let's start with the create apps. The first thing that you have to do when you create an app is obviously give it a name. And I'm just going to give this one a simple name because this is just to show you how it works. So I've just given it the name test for this demonstration. And also at the bottom here, it says what type of app do you want to create, a phone or an iPad. Now the iPad actually should say tablet, and that's being looked at and changed at the moment. But what we tend to find is that if you initially create a phone-sized app, it's very easy to scale that app up on the mobile device rather than create a larger tablet type app and try to get it to fit on a smaller device. We also find for Android devices that it's much better to create the phone-sized one, and then you've got a better chance of actually getting it to fit and work on the various Android devices. So we'll just create that. And we're now into the editing screen. The other thing that you would have done, obviously prior to coming to this point in the app creation process, and there's a lot of work that goes on before you get to this point. Work with the children to actually design their app. How is it actually going to work? And the app needs to be, in effect, storyboarded. It needs to be written out. It needs to be carefully planned. How many screens they're going to have, how they link together, what resources they're going to have, what's going to be the orientation of the app. So all of that work really needs to be done before they get to actually this point of putting the app together. The button here, Screen Setup, allows me to set the orientation of the app by default. So we've got Portrait and Landscape, and we can have the status bar either on or off, the status bar being the service bar at the top of the screen here. I'm going to leave mine as it is there. Now, the screen is basically split into three main areas. On this side of the screen, the left-hand side, we've got what we call widgets, and we'll come back to those in a minute. We've got the pages, so these are the actual screens that there are going to be in our app. At the moment, there's only one, the home screen. And on this side, on the right-hand side, we've got the properties. And these properties relate, as we'll see as we go through, to all the things that we add to the screen. Coming back to this left-hand side over here, the widgets are items that we can actually drag and drop out onto our screen. So if I want to, for instance, have a button on my screen, I can click on it and just drag it straight onto my first page. The options that we've got a standard button, which is going to allow me to click on it and move to another point in my application that I'm creating, my app. We can put images on there, so we can add any pictures that we want, and I'll come back to those again in a moment. We can have an image button, and the image button is, as the name suggests, it's a button that contains an image. Labels allow me to put a certain amount of text on screen. The rich text option allows me to put longer formatted pieces of text on the screen. We also have a text input, so that allows me to input information to my app via a keyboard. I can play videos on screen. I can also add maps to the screen, and inbuilt into AppFurnace, there is a GPS system that allows you to both track and find things using Google Maps and Street Map as the two chosen systems for doing that. We can set scroll areas up on screen, so that allows me to scroll through things which might ordinarily not appear on the main screen, and we've got to either flick up or flick down to look at things. And there's also a QR code scanner, so we can scan QR codes. For instance, if you had put QR codes around the school as part of a maths challenge or a maths treasure hunt or something, they could go around and scan a QR code in, and then information would appear on screen relating to that QR code. So let's go back to the buttons up here. At the moment, we've got one page on screen. And if we look over at the properties side over here, you can see that it says button OK. And the button OK is referring to this button here, which is selected. If I click off that button and onto the background, if you watch the right-hand side of the screen, the properties will change. So they've now changed to the page properties. Click back on the button and they've changed to the button properties. Just going to add a second page in now by clicking on the add button over here. We can actually add, duplicate or delete pages from this little menu at the top here. So I've now got page 1, which is selected. And you can see my buttons disappeared in the preview over here. If I click back on the home page, there's, okay. And I'm going to add another button to page 1. I'm going to put it in the middle so it's in a different place. Now, all I'm going to simply do to begin with is just make this app go from the home page to page 1. So if I go back to the home page and click on the button to select it, in the properties you can now see I'm on the OK button. I can actually change the text on that with this settings tab. So I just highlight that and I'm going to put go to page 1. And if I confirm that, you can see over here now on this button the text has actually changed, and I can resize this button if I want to and move it to wherever I want. At the moment the button isn't doing anything, but here I've got in the properties now an option that says go to page, and if I click on the drop down you can see in the list I've got page 1. So now the settings for that button are go to page 1 and the link is go to page 1. Let's just go to page 1 because we'll need to edit this page as well. So here's our button on page 1 and I'm going to change that to be home because I want to go back to the home page. And if I clicked on the go to option, you can see there's a couple of options in here I could use. I could use the back option, which simply means go back to the last page, or if it is actually the home page I want to go to, I can click on home. Okay, so now we'll save that. Now, one of the nice things with AppFurnace is that we can prototype and test the apps as we go along, actually within the browser. At this moment in time, we don't need access to a mobile device. So the students and the children can be carrying on this activity without physically having the mobile device with them. And the way I actually do that is to tell it I want to preview online. And what this will do, if I click it, it will give me a mimic of my app. And you can see at the top I can set it to be either an iOS one or an Android one. I can actually choose different screen sizes, and obviously this only goes up to iPhone 5 at the moment, but the 6 one will shortly be updated. And here is my app. If I click on go to page 1, you can see it's now jumped to page 1. If I click on home, it will go back again. So my buttons that I've put on the screen are working. I'm happy with them. The app is fine up to that point. Now, at this point, I'm going to actually stop using this app and just go back slightly and just load up a demonstration one so we can see a little bit more about the features. One of the activities that we quite often get schools to do is actually to create an app about their school, and they can be tasked with creating an app for maybe younger children or maybe for parents of prospective students, for instance. And as I said previously, a lot of the work in creating the app goes on beforehand. You've actually got to sort out the information you want to put on screen and of course collect the files of the pictures and the movies and decide what text you want to put on your app and screen layout. And all of those files need to be uploaded before you actually begin the app, or rather it's best to upload them before you begin the app, and then they're ready for you to use. And the way in which you do that, in the menu at the top here on the left, there is a files option, and if I just click that, it gives me a display of a folder that is actually on the AppFurnace servers, and you can see I've already uploaded some images and a movie to this folder. There's an upload button here in the top left. If I click that, it simply opens a filer window. So my picture files and movie files would be on my computer. I tell it I want to upload them, and then it will upload them all to my user area. And you can look at all of these simply by clicking on them. You can see we're getting a preview on the right hand side of the screen, and if I want to, I can either rename it, and it's a good idea to name the pictures in a meaningful way so that you're not going through them all the time trying to find where you've put a picture. And there's a replace and a delete option as well. So on this application, I've got all my files uploaded. I can go back to my layout screen and I can begin to actually plan my app out. So the first thing that I want on the app is I actually want a background picture on the home page. So we go back over to the properties over here. I've clicked in the middle of the app. So I'm on the page properties and I've got settings. Well, it tells me it's the home page. That's fine. This tab, the second one, is a shape, color, border, and shadow. So this is giving me some editing facilities. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an image in the background. There we are, there's a picture of the school appeared. And I've got a number of options that I can use here. I can either tell it to stretch. This is going to look a bit funny because it's out of proportion. Crop to fit. I actually want it to fit it, and I wanted it in the center of my screen. I could have top and bottom if I wanted to. You can also choose background colors. And this is just the normal sort of Windows type color picker. And we could put a color in if we wanted to. So if we changed it, we could make it look really gary. But I'm just going to leave it as it was. There we go, with the white in the background. So I've got a background color here. I now want to put a label on. So I click on my labels and I can drag out onto screen a label and position it at the top here. And you can see it's got that yellow sort of glow around it, which shows it's selected. And over on the properties side now, we've got a label, and I'm going to change the text in that to our school. We'll leave that position there. I'm also going to put some images. So I'm going to put an image, and again all I'm doing is dragging widgets out onto screen. Each time they're dragged, they remain selected, and I'm going to put in here the school badge. Now that school badge doesn't quite fit, so I can make it bigger simply by dragging and dropping and resizing. All of the skills that are required for creating the app at this point are skills that they will have learned in other applications. Drag and drop, choosing colors, typing, and so on. They're all things which they can bring to the app, which they will have learned in other things. And we'll put another image on as well. So I've dragged an image on, and let's have our teachers. There we are. So there's a group of teachers. We can put them at the top. So I'm starting to build up my my page. I now need to add a second page. So there we've got home page and page 1. And on this page 1 is where I am going to build up a little bit of a menu, because I want to be able to go through my app and look at different parts of the school. And if children were doing this, this would be the part where you said to them, you know, what's great about our school? What's fantastic? What are we going to tell other people about it? Why do they want to come here? If it was something else, if you'd gone out to a museum or a historical site, this could be a menu for the different parts of the site that you want people to actually look at. And we can do that with image buttons. So we can drag an image button onto screen, and it appears to begin with as simply the default star image. And that's because we've not allocated or assigned a picture to it at the moment. the properties on the right hand side, we can see we've got the image star and an image that we can assign to it. So let's choose tuck shop. Now it's very difficult to see that one because it's quite small, but again we could drag it out to a better size. It's not doing anything at the moment because the go to page option still has none on it. So I need to add another page in, and this time I'm going to give the page a name, and I'm going to call it Tuck Shop. And you can see that's now changed on this side as well. So going back to page 1, I now tell it that I want it to go to the Tuck Shop. We'll just put a second image button on here as well, because I know one of the other things that this student really likes is they like the animation club. So we'll just put a little animation badge on there, and we'll add another page in, and we'll call this animation. Now, we mentioned in the widgets over here that one of the options is a video option. So I'm going to add a video to my animation page. So all I've done is dragged the video player over onto the screen here. And in the properties window now, it tells me it's the video player I've selected. I need to choose my video. And this is one I'd uploaded previously, so I can choose the video. It allows me to put a poster frame in, and that could be any of the graphics that I've put in here. So if there was a specific picture that I wanted to represent my movie, I could do that. I can set the orientation that the video is going to play in, whether it's going to be played in portrait or landscape. Most of them, it's best to leave as landscape. And the play button is the video play button, and again I'll just leave that as it is. Now, one of the mistakes that children often make is the fact that when they've designed a page, they forget to put buttons on to navigate back. So in this particular application, we've got a home page. We've not at the moment got a button to go through to the menu. So let me just put that one on, and I'm going to tell it to go to page 1. We could call page 1 menu. I'm going to resize it a little bit, and this button we can actually modify the properties on if we want to. We can customize its style. So if we think that's really boring and we want to change it, we'll change it to, let's go to the menu. And these tabs at the top now, I've got more of them because I said I wanted to change the style. I can change the font, the size, the color. I can put shadows and things on it. Again, these are all things that they've probably come across in other software packages. And I can also change the background color, again with a color picker. So let's choose a totally different color. And let's put that color in now. We can turn the border on and off. We can put shadows inside and outside. So they're all things that they can play with to make and change the way that the button looks. And if I actually wanted to use that button throughout my application, instead of recreating it every single time, I could just say save style. And what that does is give me the option to give my button a name. And if I now look over here, my button appears at the bottom down here. So I can use that one on every page if I so wish. Back to this button here. I've told it I want to go to page 1. I know it goes to page 1. I know this now goes to my animation page. So my Tuck Shop button goes to my Tuck Shop. My animation button goes to my animation page. And if I go to my animation page, I need to put a button on here that is, let's use a different button. Let's use an image button. that's going to take me home. So we've put in a home icon. So there's a home icon, and that's going to go to my home page. So I'm all ready to test and prototype again. So the first thing to do is to save it and then preview online. So here's my app appearing on screen. If I click on menu, it goes through to my menu page. If I click on my animation page, it goes through to my animation page. And if I click on my animation, hopefully it will play. And there we've got the animation playing. And if I click back on home, it'll take me back to the home page. So obviously they can explore all of the features in the widgets, adding different things to their app. But how do we actually get it up onto the mobile device? Obviously, with your school accounts, the first thing is that it's got to be moderated. This button up here, the preview on phone, which I guess should be preview on device now rather than just on phone. If a student clicks on this and their app has not been moderated, they get a message back again saying it's got to be moderated. If I click on it, what I get is this screen. And this screen allows me to get my app from the computer onto the mobile device. The first thing I've got to do, however, is I've got to download the AppFurnace application from either the Apple Store, the Apple App Store, or the Google Play Store. And that is a free app. Anybody can download it. You just go to those stores and download it to your device. When it's actually on the device and you start it up, you open the screen and you'll see there's a little plus symbol on it. And if you tap the plus symbol, it allows you to scan a QR code. So you point your mobile device at this QR code, and the mobile device will then download all of the data to your phone or your mobile device. And at that point, the app can be used on the mobile device. Now, obviously, the more data that you have used in your app, the larger your app is going to be. So it's important when you're designing your app and when the children are designing their apps to make sure that all of the resources that they use are suited for the mobile device. So for instance, if you're using graphics files, pictures that are megabytes in size, they are going to take a long time to render on the mobile device, to actually load to view on the mobile device. And you'll see that on the device, depending on the speed of it, by the picture just coming in parts rather than just flashing straight in. If that happens, then they need to make the picture smaller. Similarly, if you're uploading any movies, then you need to make sure those are suitable for the mobile device, a suitable size. So uploading their favorite film at hundreds of megabytes is not a good idea. Uploading a small movie that has been changed for use on mobile devices, and there's online websites that they can do that sort of thing with if need be, means that the file will be much smaller and more appropriate for the size on the mobile device itself. Once the app is on the mobile device, the app is stored within the AppFurnace application. And for those of you that are sort of familiar with Android and iOS, you know that you can group apps together in folders. And the way of thinking about the AppFurnace application is that it's a folder in its own right. And all of the apps you create are within that folder. So when you tap the AppFurnace app, you will see a list of all the apps you create. And then you can just tap the one that you want to use and it will appear. Once the app is downloaded, you do not need your mobile device connected to the internet. So it becomes independent of the internet if need be. Obviously, if your app contains links out to websites or requires the use of Google Maps for the GPS system, then you are going to need that connectivity. But a lot of apps don't need that, and it means that the students don't have to be continually connected to the internet for it. Once they've got it on their mobile device, any changes that they make to the application can be simply updated. So there is an update option within the AppFurnace app. You just tap the button and it updates the app itself. It means that if a student goes home and goes back onto their user account, because this is obviously a cloud service, it's a web-based service, they could change, they could add to, they could take away materials from their apps, and in theory, they could put inappropriate materials on it. Again, once they change their app, the app becomes flagged within the system to say it has to be moderated again. So they can't get an update to that app until it has been moderated. This QR code that is produced can now be given to anybody. So the child could take the QR code home and say to a parent, give me your iPad, give me your Android tablet, look what I've done today, and scan that app QR code in, and the parents could see what was happening. Similarly, students could be given the QR code for testing other people's apps, or it could be a business or another site that the children have been maybe commissioned to do an app for. So instead of, when they visited a site, coming back into school and maybe creating a PowerPoint presentation or a web page or something like that, they could actually create an interactive app based on the visit and the data and the information that they've collected, and that interactive app could then be made available via the QR code, which of course could be put on a website, it could be put on a screen, it could be put on a poster on a wall for other people to scan and to use as well. So it's a very, very flexible application to begin with. You can create some very complicated, some very involved applications, and also some very, very simple basic applications. So it's appropriate for children of all ages to be able to create apps literally on anything. Just a couple of other small points while you're actually building your app. As their skills in building the app increase, they become a lot more focused on how the app looks and feels. And I mentioned that we could change the way, for instance, a button looks by changing its shape and its color and so on. But also, when objects are selected on screen, and we can group select objects by dragging and dropping out like this, some of the buttons here become, at the top of the screen, become active. So we've got a button that allows me to order widgets, so we can put one in front of the other or behind the other. There's also alignment tools to allow me to align graphics and things. So they can set the app out and make it look really nice. At some point during the work that they are doing, they are going to want to add in things that are not covered by these widgets. And two of the main areas that are not covered by the widgets are, how do I play a sound file, and how do I link out to a web page? And for that, they have to write a little bit of code. And this is where the app is extremely useful, because it allows people who are apprehensive about getting into coding and using coding an easy way to feel familiar with the app through the drag and drop, but then using the coding options to start to build code in. And what we've got on our website, if I just go out to the website, the screens will catch up in a moment, are some resources. And the resources are structured. We've got basic, introductory, intermediate, and advanced. And these give ideas and show how you actually undertake some of the basic coding parts of things. So for instance, how do I link to a browser? So there's linking to a browser, opening a web browser. And it goes through to a resource page. The resource page has on it a PDF file so that you can download and follow it through. It also has a code button. And if I just click on the code button, you can actually copy and paste the code from our website to the AppFurnace application. So this bit of code here at the bottom, these 2 lines of code, allow us to open a web page. So some of the things here are fundamental. It doesn't matter what coding application you're using. You have to know a number of things. So for instance, obviously computer programs are made up of lots and lots of different parts, and the parts are referred to as functions, and every function has to have a unique name. So the function here is called web page Cuddlian. It could be called go to next Tuesday if you wanted it to be, or here's a function. It can be any name whatsoever, but it has to be unique. And then underneath it, the bit that does the work opening the browser is this little bit. So here we've got AppFurnace, child browser, so that's the browser within the application, show a web page, and that's the URL. So if I want to add this to my AppFurnace application, I simply copy it, go back to my application, and I've now got to paste it somewhere. And you'll see at the top here, there is a code menu. There's a little bit of example code in there. We don't need to worry about that at the moment. So I'll just click down here and paste this code in. So here's the code. This opens a web browser, function web page Cuddlian, AF child browser, and this little bit is the bit that you would change. So you would put in your URL at this point. And of course, we save it. Before we save it though, what I want to do is just copy the name of my function. So I've copied it. And we'll just save that. And we'll go back out to the layout. And I'm going to add another button to my screen here. And we're going to call that button simply web page. Now, at the moment, that button obviously isn't doing anything. We've just put it there and given it a name. We've now got a third little tab here that we've not mentioned at all. If we just hover over it, you can see it pulls up the label code. And if I click on it, it gives me tapped function and code name. Now, if we remember, in our code, we gave the function for opening the web page a name, and we copied it. So all I need to do is copy and paste that to there and save it. Now, the one thing that you can't do when you're previewing online is check on web pages. I'll show you what happens when we do that. So we're now previewing online. If I click on the button web page, it doesn't actually physically show me something, but I can tell what it's doing by putting a log up, and the logs should show me that it's user script loaded. It will display this when you are on the mobile device, but a browser within browser is not able to work within the browser. So that one you do have to put up onto your mobile device in order to make it work. As I said, there's code on our website for adding sound files, adding web pages, and doing other little things to extend the use as the children become more familiar with the application and they want to add more into it. Right, that just about covers everything that I need to cover this morning. Has anybody got any questions? I know that's been very quickly gone through, and there's a lot of information there. But is there anything anybody specifically would like to know that I've possibly missed?
Is it possible to embed like videos or like online pictures?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. With the children in the background, they're overpowering your voice.
Is it possible to embed videos or like online?
No, I'm sorry, there's somebody speaking very loudly in the background on one of the microphones, and I can't hear what anybody's saying. Would you like to type it in, and I can possibly respond to it then? Okay. There is limited online embedding. You can do it with the rich text window. So things like YouTube videos and RSS feeds can be embedded into the application itself. And obviously then you would need the internet access, the web access all of the time. Actually embedding a photo online would be a little bit more difficult to do. You could do it in JavaScript, but there isn't a widget for actually doing that. But you could use JavaScript to actually do that. Okay. Connie, is there anything else you've got to add, or are you happy with what we've gone through so far?
Yeah, can you show the teacher where to look for further Java idea?
But the basic ones are on our website, so that there's some quite comprehensive in the advanced ones for doing some basic games with JavaScript, calculators, running through calculations, doing an online photo frame so that they're looking at timing and things like that. So those will take them through some sort of basics for JavaScript coding. Apart from that, the actual JavaScript application examples themselves at the high end of things are really that you can take the majority of JavaScript and be able to use it in the application. So it's really developing their sort of programming skills from an understanding of JavaScript, and that there are lots of JavaScript websites where people can go to look at that type of thing. And there's also, if we go to this code button on screen, there's also a full code API documentation for those advanced users who want to look at how to do JavaScript activities within the application itself, and it goes through these in some detail as to how to access all of that. So for instance, if we just click the child browser one, there we can see that there's various JavaScript calls that it's looking at there to enhance the actual basic opening of the web browser. And any of the ones that you click on here will go into more detail as to how you can enhance the JavaScript. But obviously for as an introductory one, some of this might be a little bit more complicated for them to actually.
So Java.
Caleb has asked about publishing online. The apps the students created are mobile-based apps, so they will go onto Android tablets and obviously Apple tablets, iOS tablets, and phones. You can, when you preview online and print out the QR code, that QR code can be made available to anybody through a website. So all an end user would have to do is download the AppFurnace app from the appropriate store, and then anybody can use their app. If you actually want it published natively to the App Store so that it becomes a purchased app in the App Store, then there is a way of doing that, but that's not easily accessible from the end user's point of view. It's something that the AppFurnace team have to take the app that the student has created and turn it into a properly printed app that can then go up on the App Store. But with the QR code, obviously you've got that facility of being able to publish it and make it available to anybody without having the hassle of going through Apple's QR process, Apple's developer process, and having to have a developer account, and a similar sort of thing on the Android store. You have to become a Google developer. You've got to go through all of Google's hoops to actually get the app published as well. This just overcomes that part of it in that they don't physically have to publish anything to any of the app stores. So it makes it a lot more flexible in the education environment because of not just that, but also because it's not a web app. It's actually an app in its own right. So the connection to the internet isn't required all of the time once the app has been downloaded. Yes, Connie, we would talk about publishing to you publish into the AppFurnace app itself. So when you get your QR code, the AppFurnace app is what you actually use to scan the QR code to get the app onto your device. And again, there's help pages on the website that take you through that whole process of getting down the app onto your mobile device and how to then use it to get the app you have created on your mobile device. With the system that I've got set up here at the moment, unfortunately, I'm not able to show you what the app actually looks like on the mobile device itself. I don't have a connection into GoToMeeting with it, so it would be very difficult for me to do that. Apologies for that. But again, if you go onto the website, there's some ideas about how you can do it. Okay, I think that's just about everything. You've got my contact details if there is anything you need to email me on. I'm quite often on Skype most of the time during UK office hours, which I know is a little bit different to yours, but always available on the end of an email anyway if there's anything specific you need to ask. But if that's everything, then I think we can close this webinar. Thank you very much for your attention and for listening to me, and I hope you have some fun with the application, and we'd really love to see some of the apps that the children produce, and also if there's anything that you're doing with the application, we'd love to be able to tweet about it as well, because there's lots of other people looking at things they can do with the app from all over the world, and they would love to know what's going on as well. So have a good day, everybody, and we'll catch up again soon.
Okay, thank you.
Andy,你係邊個校㗎 ？Andy？Hello？